Thanks for joining us for another great episode of Net Builders 360. Today I have my co-host here, Thrett Brown. You've seen him around.
For sure.
All right, and we have a special guest, Noah, here. Noah, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, I'm Noah Struthers. I'm with Second Cycle Community Bike Project. I have been working on this project since 2008, and I'm the co-founder. There was a handful of us that started the organization. I'm kind of the only one left at this point. You kind of cycle through, like I've cycled through, like I would say 5 different classes of board members, a handful of different staff, and it's been a journey, like working here at Second Cycle. I came on here full time at like 2014. I was at REI for 7 years before that, and before that I was just working like warehouse construction job, bike shop. Like I was always just kind of I got out of high school and I just kind of went straight to the construction site, and my father grew up as a construction worker and concrete guy, and that's what I had accessible to me when I got out of high school. So I did that for a while. I moved out when I was 18 and just kind of bounced around, unstable housing, unstable like working conditions for a long time. And then I got a house. I got some decent housing, like consistent housing, like when I was like 24,
right.
But I basically was like at times like just couch surfing from age 18 to 24, until I was able to have like a real stable job and a stable apartment, and that's when I started kind of figuring out what I wanted to do. And bikes were the things that I wanted to do. I believed in bikes. I loved bikes. I always rode bikes, mountain bikes when I was a kid. I rode bikes when I moved into the city. I grew up like rural Pierce County, like unincorporated Pierce County, out past like Gig Harbor, almost to Kitsap County. So I grew up out there, but I moved into Tacoma because housing was cheap and I could find work. Right. But this was like 2000, when I moved to Tacoma, and so I just kind of I'm a townie. I consider myself
right.
from Tacoma at this point. My family is 3rd generation here in Tacoma. As long as there's been like white people in Tacoma, my family's been here since like 1895 or something, and so.
What was that turning point where you mentioned that you went, construction jobs, unstable? What was that moment that hit you where you said, enough? This is what I'm gonna do, and the idea of Second Cycle.
I'll talk about that. I was building this concrete bunker like magazine out at Fort Lewis. I had this Fort Lewis job, and this is when I got into warehouse work. But I was working out at Fort Lewis, and I was driving stake for concrete forms, and everything. It was a bunker. It was a magazine.
Right.
Everything was like tons of rebar, lots of everything's heavy as hell. And I had a really hard job out there, and I lost the feeling in these like 3 fingers for like 3 months, and I was like, never again. I'm not going back to construction. I'm not going to do it. So that's when I got a job. And then I was like, I'm going to do warehouse. I can show up at the same place. I'll get a job at REI. I applied for their central bicycle assembly, and it was like consistent. It had benefits, and it gave me an opportunity to like explore other things in my life because I had some sort of sense of stability. It's like it wasn't like, it was kind of a dead end job for me.
Right. And
I got into REI, but I sort of hit like a ceiling in it, Okay. And there was a lot of people retired in place at REI, and there wasn't upward mobility for me, and I kind of started realizing that. I was like, I looked to my left, I looked to my right, and I saw, guys that have been there for 10, 15 years and got nowhere, and I was like, this is not what I need to be doing,
And what made you choose profit versus non-profit? Because I haven't been in the non-profit world very long, but I'm not gonna lie, profit world is way easier.
You know,
it's way easier.
I think that I think I chose nonprofit because of the community building aspect of it and the legacy aspect of it. Yeah. So I think that when I think about the nonprofit, this organization, I think about it as an institution.
Right.
And I think about it as something that's going to outlive me.
Right.
It's going to outlive Gerard. It's going to outlive my tenure at this place. So I want it to be an impactful thing that's going to make a difference in the long-term outcomes of this community.
Yeah.
And I believe in bikes because I believe in active transportation. I believe that people need to be out of their cars and getting places by foot, you know, and that we're healthier societies. Like air quality is healthier with bikes.
Yeah.
You know, it's good for the planet. It's good for people.
Yeah.
It's good for the environment. It's good for everything, you know. So I believe in bikes. I believe in bikes to my core, you know, and I wanted to see the cycling world be a lot more accessible to all my friends. You know, most of my friends were in like service industry jobs, and everybody's like, I'd like to get into bikes, but I can't afford it.
Right.
You know, it's like, there's no used bike shop in Tacoma. And then there's like this kind of format. This sort of second cycle nonprofit bike shop is a format that's across the United States and internationally. There's community bike shops like this all over the place, in Portland and Seattle, you know, New York, Boston, Detroit, like everywhere has got a community bike shop. Like it's a proven model. And also the old school model of like independent bike shops are just kind of going in decline too. So I wanted to do something different, and this seemed like a good model to get into. And I don't know, I'm just not a very like money motivated guy. It's a little changing a little as I'm getting older.
Right.
And I'm married now and I got a house and stuff. I'm a little bit more money motivated. But when I was 27, I was pretty ideal. I had pretty idealistic sort of perspective, you know, and it was just kind of, I was like, I don't want to be money focused. I want to be a community focused organization.
And you know, it's funny that you say that because a lot of entrepreneurs miss that aspect. They miss that what you exactly what you just said. You weren't money motivated. You were more idealistic, but your whole entire business model and how it came about was based on you wanting to help and provide value.
Yeah.
And a lot of entrepreneurs lose their way in that. They get so focused on the money that they actually end up chasing the money and forget that providing value is an entrepreneur's job. We see a problem, we create a solution.
Yeah.
And they honestly forget that.
Yeah.
Very often.
And I'm going to add too, because when you say like me having a sense of like doing business with you in the nonprofit world, I see exactly, because that's why I started the nonprofit that we have now, is because it does outlive us on a community level, you know, because this is something that communities carry on. You know, it's something it's for the community, by the community. It's just a vision that we have to provide these services for people that, you know, are not able to, because most for-profits, they create business based on price margins that a lot of people in the community can't afford to reach or can't afford to access. You know, so providing this nonprofit. And my question to you is, out of all of the locations in Pierce County, Tacoma, what made you settle your business, your organization right here on the Hilltop?
Hilltop, I don't know. I've been in Hilltop for pretty much most of my. I've lived on the east side. I've lived in Fircrest. I've lived all over Tacoma, but I've spent the most time like in the Hilltop and like central, kind of like between 6th and Division. I've been living in the Wedge for a long time, and it's a diverse neighborhood. It's one of the most diverse, highly populated, like densely populated areas in Pierce County. You know, and I think that diversity is important. You know, and this is the neighborhood that it needs to be in because we need diversity in cycling, and there's not as much representation as there should be. That's because there aren't as many like opportunities, and that's not where the bike shops are at. There's never been a bike shop in Hilltop. You know.
And the second question, a follow-up question, because I'm from Louisiana, and I know back home we was big with bike clubs. You know, we pull up to your house, knock on your door, we got bikes outside, we ready to go. Right. And so we riding bikes all over the town in the smaller town that I come from. So here, you know, because we was walking through the building earlier, and you highlight the fact that, you know, like for the BIPOC opportunities with the bikes in the back, how do you feel is there a big disconnect in your observation of BIPOC community having an interest in being more mobile on bicycles?
I think the interest is there. It's just the opportunity is what has been lacking, for sure.
Okay.
I think that our diversity in our youth programs represents the diversity of the neighborhood. And I think that like the interest is there. It's just opportunity, and then it's kind of there hasn't been a culture of it.
Yeah.
Just because there hasn't been as many like bike shops
True.
here. So it's just hasn't been there. And if you're a young person with a bike, a BMX bike, or a mountain bike or something, you need to have a bike shop to access.
Yeah.
Like, because let's say you're on the east side of Salishan. You're on 56 in Portland. How are you going to get out of that neighborhood by foot? If you're not going to get out of that neighborhood by a bike, or if you have a bike over there and you get a flat tire, like how are you?
True.
Because I remember as a kid,
that it's tough.
Happened, we were done.
Yeah.
If my chain popped and I couldn't fix it, that bike was done.
But there was a lot of kids in this neighborhood that weren't getting access to bikes before us because they would have to go all the way over to South Tacoma Way on 56 and South Tacoma Way. Or they'd have to go all the way to the north end of Tacoma at Rainier Cyclery. I mean, they've got something closer now, which is Tacoma Bike, which is on 6 out by the weed dispensary, Marymar. And like that's closer. And there's another bike shop that's closer over by Wright Park. But we were it for a very long time, from basically like 2008 to around 2016, 2000. There's a close bike shop now, but they don't specialize in services the way we do, and they don't hold space for community the way that we do.
Because is it the one that's over there on 4th, right behind Rice Park?
Yeah, it used to be over there. It was called Defiance Bikes, and then they changed the names to Opalescence Bikes, and it's on like 6 and Yakima, right there on the corner. There's like a barber shop and a massage place on like the south corner of Wright Park.
My another question is, so what do you feel with this business module? What are some of the biggest challenges that you would probably
It's
face?
just funding.
Funding.
It's always money, money and just staff and people. But I mean, it's just with the bike shop. Bike shops are difficult because a lot of people don't want to. That even can pay for like services. They don't value them the same way they do other things. Like, even though it takes us 3 or 4 years to like truly train up a mechanic so that they're completely independent and competent, they should be making $35 or $40 an hour. If you work as an electrician and you train for 4 years and you're trained as a journey person, then you're going to be making $35-$40 an hour, but it's not the same. So it's just not the same with bikes, even though you have to have like an equal amount of knowledge of minutia. So it's really a challenge because you rely on people's passion, and people end up paying kind of a passion tax just to work in the industry, and that's that's not just like a second cycle issue. That's Trek stores, Specialized stores, Kona stores, every other independent bike shop in the country. It's really an industry issue. It's because we're going to continuously bump up against, and there's no union. Right. Oh, yeah. And there's no standardization of labor rates. There's no controlling union out there that's like, we need to charge X amount of dollars for a brake bleed. Right. We need to charge X amount of dollars for a wheel true and a bike build. There's no universal like standard for education either. There's a couple of small schools, but there's not really like a unified like governing body for bike shops. In like the bike shop labor union, it just doesn't exist, So I think that's going to be kind of one of the biggest challenges going forward, not just for Second Cycle, but also for bike shops at all across the country. It's just like, how do we keep people in the industry if they're not going to be able to make really decent wages.
Mhm.
Where's their motivation to stay in it?
Seriously.
And then what you're basically, if there's no motivation to stay in it, you get transitional employees.
Mhm.
You get people that are in high school and they're going to college,
Right.
and then they move on and they do something
Yeah.
else. But how do we keep like lifelong trades
Yeah.
people in
Mhm.
the bicycle industry?
Mhm.
You know, so it's like it's it's an issue like
Yeah.
nationally for bike shops, not just like Second Cycle.
Yeah.
So staffing is one of the big issues, and it's a hard job, and it doesn't pay as much as I would
Mhm.
like it to.
Mhm.
But you know, the bottom line is the bottom line, and I can only
Yeah.
pay as much money out as it's coming in.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't have a magic wand. I can't
Mhm.
just.
Yeah.
Money's got to come from somewhere.
Mm.
You know, and we also try and do a service to the community. So there's like often entrepreneurial needs and desires,
Yeah.
and like money making needs and desires. Then there's like mission making needs and desires, and balancing that
Right.
is always kind of like a challenge for myself and the staff. It's like, oh, you know, I want to say no to this, but I can't because this
Right.
person's got to get to their graveyard
Seriously.
shift.
Uh,
You know, and I've got 5, 6, 8, 10, 15, 20 like paying service repairs, but I
Mhm.
got to drop this and I got to get this guy to work.
Mhm.
You know, and we do make judgment calls like that, and I trust the staff to make judgment calls like
Right.
that, and we do about $10,000 of in-kind services per year,
Mhm.
just in like,
Right.
man, my chain's messed up. Can you put it back on there for me? Can you adjust my brakes? Can you fix a flat tire? I got to get to DSHS, or I got to get, you know, I got to get somewhere,
Mhm.
you know, because like the bike, for a lot of the people we serve, the bike isn't an alternative transportation choice.
Right.
It's the only transportation
seriously.
choice, you know, and like the guy with the shopping cart pulling his bike along with it, he's a biker too, and he's
Mhm.
just trying to, you know. I guess one of the other things that's really difficult about this job and this model is, well, I call them bike-shaped objects. They're like Huffies and department store bikes, and they're bikes that are built at non-serviceable grade.
Mhm.
So they build these bikes and they're not serviceable.
Mhm.
And then people go to Kmart,
Yeah.
they go to Walmart, and they buy these bikes. They go to Costco and they buy these bikes, and they only last for 2 weeks. They're like, oh, it's $100 bike. I can get a bike. And they go out and they buy a bike, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's not serviceable. It's got plastic parts on it. It goes out of true really quickly. The wheels are terrible. It doesn't stop safely,
Mhm.
you know. And people bring these bikes on us, and then we're like, we can't work on that.
Right.
It's not serviceable.
Yeah.
This is not of a serviceable grade of material.
Yeah.
This is not of a serviceable grade of manufacturing. And we have to refuse service on it because it doesn't make any sense for us to
Right.
work on something that's not going to work in 2 weeks.
Yeah. And then be blamed for
Yeah,
it. in the end,
yeah,
like,
and
we
then be
did
blamed
this.
for it, right?
Yeah.
You know, or we'll be like, oh, we can't work on that because it's not going to be safe to ride,
Mhm.
or the cost of the repair would exceed the value of the bike,
Yeah.
and just being like, we have to have that conversation constantly with
Mhm.
people, and it's not Second Cycle's fault.
Right.
It's
Seriously.
not my fault.
Mhm.
You know, that's like the industry's fault. That's like because there's no governing body
Mhm.
on a national level
Yeah.
that's saying you can't manufacture these things.
Uh-huh.
These are dangerous things.
Yeah.
And people are putting their kids on them.
Yeah.
People are riding them to work.
Yeah.
People are riding them down 19th Street,
Seriously.
going from, you know, MLK
Mhm.
to Pacific,
Seriously.
dragging their feet on
Yeah.
their tire or dragging their feet on the pavement trying to stop. And it's dangerous.
Well, to have
You
a
know,
safety
like-
section real quick, is there a way for our audience, because I have kids too, so how do we spot these bikes that are not safe? Like, what are the telltale signs of
I
them?
mean, by brand a lot. You know, if you see plastic parts on like the brake levers, if the brake levers are plastic, if the brake arms are plastic, if the rims are rolled steel versus like machined aluminum. So if the rims are steel or like polished steel, that's not safe. You know, if you have rolled steel like brake arms, levers rather than like a cast aluminum.
Right.
So if you have a lot of like stamped steel parts, I don't know if you know how to differentiate between a stamped steel part and like
Isn't there a stamp on it, like you can see it, but they probably have it painted over, huh?
Yeah, no, it's like the material itself is just stamped rather than cast.
Oh.
So it's like they bend really easily. They don't hold an adjustment. They flex a ton. Like they just don't work right, and it's kind of hard to tell. They've gotten really good at making bikes look like actual bikes, but they're just bike-shaped objects. You know, they're
That's
awful,
crazy.
and it's just a hustle. You know, it's a scam, and it's a pervasive scam that's existed in department stores for the last 50 years. You know, they build these bikes that are just garbage, and if you have a little bit of knowledge of like what it is, it doesn't. I can point at the parts and I could explain it to you in like 15 minutes. If I went and grabbed a bike-shaped object and a regular like quality 90s mountain bike, it was designed to be used. You know, but like that's a constant education thing that we have to do, and that's labor that those stores are pushing off on us. Every time we got to have that conversation, is like we do it because we want to do it kindly, we want to do it compassionately, we want to do it without like. It's really hard, and some people just don't want to hear it, you know.
And I want to add to that too, and it's such a scam because as I'm hearing you say it, it becomes such a scam to the point where these people then categorize it down to a science. Because I've noticed the first thing that some parents do when they buy their child a bike from the Walmart or wherever the case may be, and the kid's on the bike and then the bike break for whatever reason, first thing the parents do is say, "Look at you. Out there, you know, I just bought the bike for you. You done already broke it.
Yeah.
Ain't no way I'm just gonna buy a bike from the store and it just break."
Right. And then they take it to us, and they'd be like, "Can you adjust this?" We're like, "No, we can't."
That's crazy.
You know, it's
so much fault on the kids.
Yeah, I'm guilty. Now I gotta go apologize to my kid. I think I just got a Huffy.
I mean, some of them are okay,
Right.
and it's really hard to tell.
Yeah.
You know, I just and the guys or the women, the people, the staff that's assembling those bikes at you know Target or Walmart or department store or whatever, they're not bike mechanics. They're the same people putting together the lawn chairs and furnitures and barbecues and everything. They're
And
not,
this
they're
also
not like a
comes
regular
with
bike
the
shop.
lack of regulation. Like, but the bike industry is so it's old. It's been around forever.
It is, but
and,
it's not powerful.
But bikes are.
Yeah.
It baffles me because a bike downhill. We have bike lanes in our streets now.
Right.
They're treated with like motor vehicles.
Yeah.
Right.
They have to stop at stop
Right.
signs.
Yeah. They gotta obey the rules of the road.
Yeah, they have reflectors on them,
Right.
but there's still no one up there, higher up, powers that may be, decided yet, hey, this bike is being treated as a main mode of transportation and traveling a long parts. Should there be a regulations to where?
I think there should be, but it should be on the onus of the manufacturer, not the individual. Because if you be like you're responsible for having your bike licensed, and your bike has to be like regulated, and you're responsible for that, and you put the onus on the
manufacturers.
There needs to be on the manufacturers. Otherwise, there's equity issues that come up. You know, because like it's not a. Then you're like, oh, you gotta have a license to have a bike. You know, and then I don't.
Probably
I don't
registration too.
Registration. Right.
That's why it's so.
It's tricky.
Low,
it's tricky.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying, and so it's low interest in them because to put too much energy into them, it starts to defeat the personal space that a person can use the bike for. But one thing I want to go back to earlier when you said, which just really like, and somewhat you just highlighted just now, it's mind blowing to me to see that maintenance to a bike is no different than a person literally driving a car into a car shop or automotive space to get it serviced. And because I didn't look at the bikes as that serious.
Right.
I looked at it as it's just a bike, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then when I'm in here listening to you and I'm seeing, and I'm thinking about the structure of a bike, and it's like, well, dang, there's a lot of work that goes into bike maintenance for people that depend on bike as their only mode of transportation.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
we
I
do,
didn't either look at it until you just explained that.
And we do offer a community tool space.
Right.
We do education on a daily basis, weekly basis. Like we invite the public in, you know, to come into this space and learn how to maintain and fix their own bike.
Wow.
You know, like we do that a lot. It's a big part of also our volunteer program. You know, people are like, I want to learn more about bikes. It's like, well, you can volunteer here and kind of learn things by osmosis, you know? Like you can absorb like the information and you can strip bikes for parts and learn the different parts of the bike and all the different like standards and everything. You know, and that's how we start off a lot of our youth volunteer. We start off youth volunteers like in the Earn a Bike program, and then they'll start volunteering. And then, you know, they might get a Summer Jobs 253, or they'll get a Next Move internship through TPS, you know, and then they get to like their junior or senior year after they're 16. And they'll be like, all right, can we bring you on? Can we bring you in for a few years? And then they've gotten enough education, you know. But we do a tremendous amount of what we do is just like disseminating information like freely, you know, and there's always a free-flowing conversation with folks about all the different minutiae of bikes. There's a ton of stuff to know, you know, different wheel sizes, different chains, different bike speeds, you know, different drivetrain speeds. I mean,
it's really
you know,
science.
It is.
I always just jumped on my bike and just started going. I really didn't think about how much.
I'm focused on flat tires, my brakes working, and if
right.
my chain's
That's
right.
it.
Yeah,
that's it. But
we teach kids this ABC quick check.
Yeah,
it's like air, brakes, chain. You know, and check your quick releases. You know, like that's mostly what anybody just needs to know. That's
but
like that's
bearings and all this other stuff.
But yeah,
it's a lot to it.
You know,
man.
in our Earn a Bike class, they actually will disassemble a bearing system and be like, "These are bearings.
Yeah.
This is ball bearings.
Seriously.
This is like what the world moves around on.
Yeah.
Whether you're on a tractor or you're in your car.
Yeah.
Like there's bearings in everything. They're just like, whoa,
it's real.
You know, like it's different when they get their hands on it.
Right.
Their hands are dirty and they're like pulling apart. And this is a cup and this is a cone and these are bearings. These are pin bearings. These are ball bearings. You know, like there's the bicycle started it all.
Yeah, it did.
You
That's
know,
what I was going to say too.
The bicycle started it all. Like the Wright brothers were bicycle mechanics. You know, bicycles predated automobiles, predated motorcycles. You know?
And it's the less now in favor of motor transportation.
Yeah.
It's one of the last sought out solutions to get around.
Mark my word, by 2040, like there's going to be a lot more bike riders.
I believe it. I believe it.
Because we're going to have climate refugees moving up into the Northwest. People are going to be moving up. If you've seen what's happening in Southern California the last couple of weeks, you see what's happened in the South. You see what's happened in Texas. You know, like people are going to be moving to the Northwest, the Northwest, because we have these buffers called the Olympics and the Cascades. And we have this natural cooling thing called the Puget Sound. You know, people are going to be moving up here in droves. But where are we going to put everybody and how are they going to get around? It's already backed up on I-5. I-5 doesn't work.
At all.
It hasn't worked in 20 years.
Right.
I'm 40 years old, you know. They've been working on I-5 my entire life. My entire life. I do not remember a time when they were not working on the I-5-16 interchange. Now they're starting the 167 interchange with I-5. It's ridiculous. You know, like the solution's not going to be more roads. It's going to be mass transportation, rapid bus transit, and active transportation systems. Like that's how we're going to put people, and we're going to have to build densely populated areas if we want to keep any of the green spaces around in the Puget Sound. So all that means is like less cars and more walking and biking and active transportation and electric scooters and electric skateboards and electric bicycles and smaller electric vehicles. It's not gigantic SUVs. You know, it's not, 9,000 pound electric Hummers. It's like everything, if we're going to fit more people into the Puget Sound over the course of the next 50 years, it's got to be walking and biking and mass transit. You know, it's the only way it's going to happen.
This is one of my last questions. my thing is, so because you just led into what I want to ask you. So, do you feel that there's a competitive process when it comes to bikes transitioning to electrical versus the stationary bike?
What do you mean?
Do you feel like it's going to be a conflict of interest with regular bike builders, or do the mechanics of that bike still operate predominantly the same way?
We already work on like 5 or 10 electric bikes a week here.
Okay.
And we'll be looking into tooling up more so.
Okay.
And getting more tooling for electric. Electric bikes are the future.
Okay.
Absolutely, 100%. And there's also a lot of room for entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of need for it. And there's going to be continued need for it. There's the rad bicycles, the rad powered bicycles. I don't know if you've seen those riding around town.
Yeah.
There's like, they're kind of upright. They've got like tires that are like 4 inches wide. They're most popular electric bike in the country.
Yeah.
We work on we know those guys. Like they're up in Seattle.
Yeah, biggest, yeah.
You know, the guy that started it, he was a young entrepreneur too, you know, and he blew up. And I don't see it as a competition.
Okay.
I think that I think that electric bikes are important.
Yeah.
And I think that they're also important for accessibility reasons, and also because in this region we have hills.
Seriously.
You know, when I was riding my bike in New Orleans, everybody had single speed bikes.
Yeah. That's my neck of the woods for the record.
You know, like riding your bike in New Orleans, you know, there's some potholes, but like it's all flat.
Seriously.
You know, and when I was riding my bike in Minneapolis, it's flat as heck.
Seriously.
You know, and everybody's got single speed bikes, but here you gotta have gears, and you
For
gotta
real.
know how to use them if you want to get anywhere.
That's
Unless
real.
you're gonna stay on the hill, or just like on 6th Ave. If you're gonna stay between like 6th Ave and Hilltop. Like you're good, you know. But if you got to get to the east side, you got to get to the north end. You want to get down to Ruston. You're gonna hit a hill.
And if you're gonna hit it going, you're gonna hit the same hill coming back.
Yeah.
That is so for real.
You know, and that just requires somebody to be of a certain physical fitness.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about the electric bike is it flattens out the hills for people and gets people on bikes more. Yeah. You know, and there's evidence that people that have electric bikes actually get on their bike more than the folks that don't have an electric bike. Because people are like,
that makes sense.
With somebody that has an electric bike, they'll just be like, I'll just take the electric bike.
Seriously.
I'll just ride across town.
Yeah.
And you're still getting exercise, you're still getting outside, you're still like doing physical movement, you know. But like they tend to first they invest in it, they spend a couple $1,000s on it, right? So they've got like that commitment device,
right? Seriously,
you know, they got that investment, right? And then it's also just more fun and easier to get across town, and they're just like more likely to use it.
So I want to say shout outs to the Philbrooks, Mr. and Mrs. Steve and Colleen Philbrook, because they gave me my first electrical bike. I got an electrical bike.
Oh, you good?
I do.
That's
I
awesome.
got one, bro.
That's awesome.
You know, so I'm with it 100%.
It's so good. There's so much fun.
That makes sense, man. I can go manual. I can just, you know what I'm trying to tell you. Here come a hill.
Right.
You're going to just switch it on to electrical and get on up there. Flatten out the ground, right?
You can ride your bike to a business meeting and not be all sweaty.
Seriously.
You know, like you can ride my face gets hella red when I exercise bad. It's not, something's not wrong with me. I just, my skin type. Like if I want to get to a seat in a meeting and I have a beet red face,
electric bike.
I get on my electric bike, you know? It's like.
You got to invest into an electric bike, bro.
I'm missing out on something here.
I got mine charging right now. I'm going to make sure I got it on full charge.
Yeah.
Because I don't live too far. I stay on 38th and 8th Street.
Yeah.
My facility's over on 12th and Sprague. Just a quick shot through here on the bike, man. And especially in the wintertime, I'll be more prone to ride my bike than I would to be driving around in the snow. Because I know certain passages to go through that avoid a lot of the extra.
Right.
You know, so I'm with that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I gotta go get an electrical bike now.
Got you, bro. And you know where to come and get it fixed at when you need some help.
Right. So how do you talked about some of the programs that you have for the youth? How do the youth go about coming in and volunteering?
They can go to the website.
Okay.
And we have like a form for volunteers. Like just go to the website and look for volunteer forms, and then our volunteer coordinator Matt Newport, he's our recycle reuse guy, and where we focus all of our volunteering.
Okay.
So
okay.
Another thing too, I'm gonna share. Cause I went to the website too. But the other thing too that I want you to know is that when I did the diversion program for our sister's house, one of the referrals were second cycle. So even for youth that are at risk or youth that are dealing with the juvenile court system, there was a lot of young people was referred to come to here as a sort for probationary statuses, and to avoid criminal records, they can come and program with second cycle to avoid, you know, that being put on their record as a divergency. And so that's one of the things that stood out the most to me when I seen, you know, and I heard a lot more about second cycle, was that Pierce County Juvenile Courts has a relationship with the entity for people to be able to say, I want to pick that organization for probationary status.
Okay.
So I thought that was pretty good. And to see that it's right here on the Hilltop was something that's more favorable.
Yeah, so
very accessible to. Yeah.
We'll usually do like they're anywhere between 4 and 6 sessions, or 4 and 6 meetups, depending on how much community service the youth need to serve. And then we'll go on a bike ride too around the neighborhood as well. They learn like riding as a group and riding safely on streets too. And one of the program I want to touch on and that I don't know if you knew about was our urban exploration program. So we have a summer camp.
Okay.
And so we have a summer camp. It's like a day camp, like they run at the Y, like 9:30 to 3:30, and the kids meet up. We have age ranges 8 to 12 and 12 to 17. And they meet up in the morning and they make choices about where they're going to go. They do some group learning activities, some group building activities, and then they explore the city by bike as a group safely.
That's what's up.
Yeah. So they get to expand their horizon in a safe environment, and then just like safety in numbers, and they're kind of riding a bike train, you know, all the way over to Swan Creek, all the way to the other side of the Narrows Bridge, you know, like it's really cool. Point Defiance, they get to explore their city and help make choices about the route and learn about how to safely navigate the streets. It kind of expands people's like confidence and their leadership skills. And
definitely.
I say this a lot. This is my last question.
Cool.
I always say this.
Right.
I always say this is my last question. But this literally is my last question. So, collaboratively, have you ever thought about, like with our organization, we big into like fundraisers right now. So we got a flipathon where we do the tire flipping fundraiser that we're working on. And we call it the community-thon, to where we do crunch-a-thon, squat-a-thon, push-a-thon, pull-a-thon, which is pull-ups, push-ups, squats, right? And so bike-a-thon. So how have you ever done a bike marathon before?
The closest thing that we do to that is the Destiny Dozen, aka the Shitty Gritty.
Okay.
We ride. It's a bike ride here. It starts at Second Cycle, and they ride up 13 of the steepest hills in Tacoma. Okay. So like Fairbanks.
Oh. That's all you got to say to me is Fairbanks, and I'm done.
My calves just started hurting. My whole thigh started hurting.
Fairbanks, and I'm done. But anything else you
L
say?
Street from like Puyallup Ave up to the top. You know that L Street.
Yeah.
The one they just opened it up again. You know, like L Street, 30th Street. We go up like 19th Street.
Yeah, which is
all like the most brutal hills in Tacoma. So that's an event that we just started up again like this last year. But it's the Destiny Dozen. It's I got some posters up for it around here somewhere.
You're not allowed to use electrical bikes during that, right?
I think there was an electrical bike category. Like somebody used
Sign me
it.
up.
Don't let them use the electrical bike.
I don't
feel
think
the burn too.
You don't get the certificate though. It's not the same certificate.
Right.
You gotta pedal it if you want the certificate, which is like
put some grit in it.
You know, you gotta train for it. It's about 40 miles, but it's like 4,000 feet of elevation. So you're doing about 1,000 feet every 10 miles.
It made me tired. Instantly.
Yeah.
But I would love to work with you on something.
Yeah.
Especially with a group of kids, you know, a group of young adults that get out in the community and understand the formalities of bike riding.
Totally.
And do some type of creative route through here or something, you know, and get a lot of adults on board for the cause, and you know, whatever we raise, it goes to both organizations.
What we could do is We've done like a poker ride before,
Okay.
or like an alley cat ride. It's just basically you could set up different destinations at different businesses, and this might be a good way to like key into your entrepreneur like network.
Yeah.
You know, is that people would ride to a business, like get a card or something, and then there'd be prizes at the end or something like that. You know, it could be it's a alley cat or poker ride.
I'm
you know,
down. I'm
something
down to
like
explore that.
Yeah.
I'm down to explore that for sure.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I was like, I don't got.
No, because you know it's never his last question. We never
It's
have
already
that.
joke.
I'm good with it though. He's had 7 last questions since we started talking.
It's real.
Yeah.
Because this is exciting, man.
It
to
is.
be able
It really
to learn the origin of transportation. Really,
Right.
though, you know, outside of feet.
Yeah.
You know, this is what it is. You know, and it makes so much sense when I'm hearing you break it down. Even when I sit back and look at the tools, I'm looking at stuff like, man, this is an auto mechanic shop. This is
Right,
an actual
right.
shop.
Yeah.
And
That's
you
right.
guys in the audience, we got some footage, so you guys will be able to see the whole shop. But if you see it, it really is. It's like, it's you really walk in here, and this is. I'm gonna be honest. I've taken biking for granted.
Yeah.
Like I always
100%
looked at
agree.
it like I'm just gonna. But then when you look at so many things that go into this, like
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
It really is. And I did the tour already, just FYI.
Gotcha.
You're welcome.
I did it first, so ha.
Oh, damn, that thing.
And I got it on camera. We got
Okay.
footage.
But no, I'm excited, man. I like this.
Yeah. I mean, we're always looking to build community and like network new people,
Mhm.
you know. We're always looking for board members too.
Yeah.
And yeah, and just I'll let you know if we have board
Seriously,
member and
please.
like you have a network of
Mm-hmm.
you know, talented young men to pull from.
Yeah.
Also, there's going to be leadership changes in this organization.
Mhm.
I'm not going to be here forever,
Seriously.
you know.
I feel that.
And like there's gonna be room for the next generation to like take over this place. I'm interested in like networking and meeting people and like building that next generation organically. You know, I don't want to do some national search for the next executive director. I want a hometown hero
Right.
that is grounded and rooted in this place and in this community, you know. Like I know you're not from Tacoma,
Yeah.
but you've been here for a long
I've been
time.
here for a while.
You've been here for a while, you know. But like, I really am interested in bringing people in
Mm-hmm.
and building leaders,
Straight up.
you know, and getting the next like generation of leaders into this bike shop, you know.
We definitely need more
So
people with a mindset like that.
I'm excited to connect with you guys and meet young people. And when I have job postings, I have job postings right now. I'm looking for a shop mechanic. We're looking for shop mechanics. We're looking for shop assistants. You know, like put it out to your network.
Yeah.
And any young person that's just like, you know, is going to hustle and is going to pay attention, is going to like stay on task, you know, and is work ready. Like,
No
send
doubt.
them our way.
Good to
You
know.
know.
What's the minimum requirements for, you know, like the mechanics? Like is there a prerequisite or something that they should have before they come
You
in as
know, a
far as
lot of the kids
credentials?
come in through our volunteering program. I tell people often it's like volunteer opportunities can turn into job opportunities. And that's not just with this organization. And it's like, I'm not saying unpaid internships. We have paid interns. We do summer jobs 253. We do Next Move. You know, some of those are paid internships.
Right.
But you know, like if you keep showing up to a place and you keep getting involved, so, I mean that's how I got a job at a bike shop when I was a kid.
Right.
You know, like I just kind of kept showing up and hanging out, and they're like, "You want a job?
Right. Straight up.
Like, you want to do something? You know, like you got to get young people have to get themselves out there
Yeah.
and expose themselves and like build community and build trust. Like I'll hire anybody, but I gotta know them. I gotta like have spent time with them. You know, I gotta trust them. You know, like, and that doesn't come without some investment on somebody else's part.
True.
You know, like I just need to see a little skin in the game before I give somebody an opportunity.
Yeah.
And
sure.
I think I think I'm not alone in that.
No, you're not.
You know?
And it only makes sense.
That's and most other employers, and I really like the fact that you said that, because most employers don't look at it like that. They honestly judge an entire candidate based off of a piece of paper called a resume. And it's not even a resume anymore. Back in the day, we used to walk in when we saw a help wanted sign and hand the resume over.
Right.
So you have some exposure. Now they go on Indeed, and they don't even have a picture of them on there. They literally look at a piece of paper on a computer screen and judge somebody's entire career off of that.
I'm interested in seeing how people show up in community.
Yeah.
You know, I've told a lot of people, just like, I can give you an opportunity. I've told like people experiencing homelessness or people, you know, houselessness. And I'll be like, I don't have to see a resume. I don't take any violent crimes. I don't take any sex crimes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like those are my only no-goes, is violent crimes and sex crimes. I'm just like, I can't deal with that.
Yeah.
But everything else is like fine.
Second chance.
But you know, it's like, how do you show up for community? Can you get along with people?
Right.
Can you like continue? Can I trust you?
Yeah.
And like, can you put in the time? You know, those are the three things. It's like, how do you show up? Can I trust you? And are you going to put in the time?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's just I think that's what it should take to get started in places. You know.
I agree.
The whole hiring system was like that across the nation.
There'd
be a lot more people who weren't judged off of that piece of paper, and the employee would actually walk and shake their hand. You know, your piece of paper says this, but you actually really showed up. You know?
Well, it's like, are you looking at your employees as an investment opportunity, or are you looking at your employees as a community member?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm looking for community members.
Seriously.
You know, I'm not looking for somebody I can get a return on investment on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in investing in on somebody.
Right.
You know.
Wow.
Because they show interest in the community, it automatically generates the return on investment.
Yeah.
Because they want to see good in the community, they want to do good by the community, and they want to work hard to be a contributor of the community.
Right.
So it's like that community membership piece is a complete buy-in for any type of success, financially, community, personally, you know, any aspect of community growth or financials. That I like that module too. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I agree.
It's the first time I've ever heard it. Honestly, that's
up.
why I'm so intrigued by it. Like, that's the first time I've ever heard an employer say that. Like,
Seriously.
Yeah.
We're going to a 4-day work week. You know.
Seriously.
Like, I want to invest in people. I want people to have time. I want people to like enjoy their lives and like be passionate about things. I want the people to have like the health and wellness to like show up joyfully to work, not just be like,
yeah,
have to go in.
I'll do this
Monday. Shit.
Man, is it almost over already? I ain't even started yet.
You know,
Can I take the day off? Can I come late?
I've had jobs like that.
Right.
Know? It's just a grind, and I'm not about. I'm a, like, don't get me wrong. I hustle. You know, I want to play smart. I want to like make choices. I want to prioritize. I want to deprioritize. But I also want like everybody to have the time to follow their passions and like take care of themselves and their family. I think that a 4-day work week is like the direction that a lot of the nation should be going towards. And if we're going to be dealing with the Great Resignation and dealing with all of these upheavals with like labor, and more things are getting automated, you know, it's just like let's reduce our hours and like be able to show up at volunteer gigs, like build something, you know, do an entrepreneurial activity. I mean, that's 50 days a year that you would get back.
Yeah.
You know, what can you do in 50 days?
A lot.
You know, a
I'm
lot.
gonna listen to this over again and get all that you just said.
Right.
7 years of 4-day work week gives you an extra year of time off.
Man.
So if you work a 4-day work week for 7 years, you get an extra, like about 365 days. You know, 7 times 7 times 50 is something like that.
Yep. 300 something.
Yeah.
That's a lot of time.
That's a lot.
350. Yeah. Almost a full year. It's a ton of time. You know.
That you got back.
Wow.
Good analogy. I'm telling you, I don't got no more questions.
No, I'm just. This is actually one of my favorite conversations. You know, like it really is. There's been a lot of topics that's been unexplored, and you guys all know that we just wing everything. So nothing's rehearsed here. So that's why I'm a little bit more quiet than I am, because not to discredit any of my previous guests on the show, but you're a very interesting person to talk to.
Thank you.
A lot of your thoughts and a lot of your idealisms are actually, and your methods of doing things is something brand new to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And this is my first time co-hosting, so that's exciting. But I do want to. Let's have a stronger interest in the bicycling industry. It is the original space of motor vehicle transportation. Anything outside of your feet is vehicular transportation. So I feel like we've left that out of the equation so long that revisiting it, and it shows another safety mechanism and show more safeguard to our kids. Y'all know where to come to get your stuff fixed at, so I ain't got to think about that.
Yeah. And we'll definitely have the, I got to get the web address from you so we can put that in the description.
Well.
Yeah, definitely. You have a...
Thanks for having me on. It's an honor to meet you guys.
You as well.
It's
You
cool.
got a takeaway for that?
I hope we, how we can. Well, this is the first of a number of meetings, the way I see it. And I want to maintain relationship. So I guess my closing is my question for you guys and for me is how do we continue to stay connected? How do we continue to show up for each other?
Right around the corner from each other.
Yeah, right. I know, but what if I don't see you for 2 years?
I'm gonna actually ride a bike over here.
I'm gonna take my electrical bike and get back to the business.
Well, it gets busy though. Life gets busy, and schedules get filled, and you're like, oh man, I haven't talked to Noah for 2 years. I wonder where he's at. Oh, he's not there anymore. It's we should be let's get coffee. Every couple months or something, just hit me up. Be let's put it on the recurring calendar. Let's get coffee, check in where each other's going, and what opportunities we might be able to collaborate on. Let's set up a date right now. For a month from now, or 2 months from now, and be let's get coffee and catch up again.
So also, and this is not going to be on the show. This is part of it all. I'm cutting this out. But we were talking about setting up a collaborative of pretty much business owners, small business owners around here, to where we meet monthly, do coffee, do dinner, something like that, because we realized during COVID, when everything happened, this is our community. We honestly relied on the government to take care of our community. And it shouldn't have been like that. We have all of these business owners around here, and collectively, we should have been able to come up with some solutions. We should have been able to do more for our community. But we were so busy, worried about staying afloat, that
we forgot that we're the reason why we stay afloat.
Exactly. We're the backbone of the nation, and when we were needed the most, we all fell apart. And that comes because we're so much at each other's throat that it shouldn't be like that. We should have something monthly where we all sit down and just, even if it's just to sit down, talk, have some coffee, laugh, joke. Can you imagine how many networking opportunities, how many collaborations, how many partnerships we're having, something like that?
Yeah.
I'm down. And I'm as I look at the young people in the community, I see a strong interest in bike riders in my demographic, geographic community area. And now that I got a more realistic perspective on bicycling, it's I'm more eager to figure out how do I get groups of young people, even if they came here and we just rode obstacle courses over in that's Shop a Lot, whatever that is over there. The Save a Lot. We created space over there, and have them riding from that parking lot to this parking lot, control, whatever it is. I'm down to create from People's Park to this lot to this slot. What does it look like? I'm down to see that, and that's what I want to be able to create and stuff. So I want to stay connected on that aspect and build on that. So I'm down to come back in and brainstorm on what it, even if it's not.
I want to get you out on a mountain bike, man.
On a mountain bike?
I want to get you out on a mountain bike.
Just don't take me to Fairbanks, goddamn it. I'm gonna tell you that.
Have you been to Swan Creek?
Yeah, I've been to Swan Creek. But if there's something worse than Fairbanks, bro, I don't even see it. I'm gonna tell you that now. So if I see us riding anywhere close to Fairbanks, you can best believe it. I'm gonna stop and I'm calling the Uber. I'm telling you now. SUV Uber, mind you. Put the bike in the back.
Oh man.
You know, so I'm down to do that. I do want to do that.
You know what? And that's weird because like do you like is it China?
Chinatown?
Yeah, no, show China.
Oh yeah.
Like they actually have people like couriers and taxis with people on the bikes and they have the
Heck yeah.
yeah.
Brazil too. I see people on bikes left and right in Brazil.
And that's like a main. That's still considered like a main primary transportation.
Yeah.
It really is.
Like
So
you wave down a cab and it's a guy with a bike and you jump in the back. When you said Uber, I thought about, are we the only country that's just pushed away from bikes? So
clearly, we're over on second cycle and they're okay. So at least somebody holding it down still.
Appreciate it, Noah.
I got a 3:00 meeting.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I gotta attend to, but it's so good meeting you guys. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
We done got what we need, I'm sure.
Now, Billis, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next episode.
Yeah. You making sure you in there?
I'm right here.